You eat muscle, you eat fat, you eat organs if you're adventurous or grew up somewhere that never stopped. You eat skin, cartilage, marrow if it's been cooked soft enough. But the actual bone, the hard white structure holding the entire animal together, you throw it away every time. A chicken thigh hits the plate and you eat everything around the bone, then toss the bone in the trash like it's packaging, like it's the wrapper the real food came in. But bone isn't empty. It isn't hollow nutritional filler. Bone is loaded with minerals, with calcium, with phosphorus, with collagen, with fat locked inside its core. By weight, bone is one of the most mineral-dense parts of any animal on the planet. So why don't you eat it? Start with the obvious mechanical problem, because your body already answered this question for you before your brain ever got involved. Human teeth cannot break bone. Not meaningfully. Your molars can grind grain, crack nuts, tear cooked meat apart. They can handle a surprising range of textures. But cortical bone, the dense outer shell of any large animal skeleton, has a compressive strength somewhere around 170 megapascals. For comparison, concrete sits at roughly 20 to 40. You are chewing against a material that is stronger than the sidewalk you walked in on. Your jaw produces somewhere between 70 and 100 pounds of force during normal chewing. A hyena's jaw produces around 1,100. That's not a small gap. That's an order of magnitude. Hyenas eat bone routinely. Their skulls are shaped for it, with massive sagittal crests anchoring muscles built specifically for crushing through femurs and spines. Their digestive systems are flooded with hydrochloric acid concentrated enough to dissolve calcium phosphite in hours. Your stomach acid can handle meat, bread, and the occasional questionable gas station burrito. It was never built to process it. And this isn't just a modern human limitation. It goes back millions of years. Early hominins like Australopithecus had stronger jaws and thicker tooth enamel than we do, but even they weren't crushing through long bones the way hyenas and vultures were. The fossil record shows cut marks on bones from early stone tools, and those marks cluster in very specific places, near joints, near the ends of long bones, places where you'd scrape meat off, not places where you'd try to eat the bone itself. What those ancestors were doing, starting around 2.5 million years ago, was smashing bones open with rocks to get at the marrow inside. That's a critical distinction. They weren't eating bone, they were eating what was trapped inside bone. Marrow is a completely different substance. It's soft, fatty, calorie-dense, and rich in nutrients that would have been extremely valuable for a brain that was rapidly growing larger and more energy-hungry across hundreds of thousands of years. Some paleoanthropologists think access to marrow and animal fat was one of the key nutritional shifts that helped fund the expansion of the human brain during the early Pleistocene. Not eating bone, eating through it. That's what makes the question interesting, because humans didn't ignore bones entirely. We found a workaround. We couldn't eat the material, so we extracted what was useful from it. And that extraction process got more sophisticated over time. By at least 400,000 years ago, there's evidence of early humans cracking bones at campsites in systematic ways, targeting the bones with the highest marrow yield and leaving the rest behind. That's not random scavenging. That's selective processing. They understood which bones were worth the effort and which weren't. Later, boiling changed everything. Once humans could heat water in containers, they could simmer bones for hours and extract collagen, gelatin, minerals, and fat without ever needing to chew through the hard tissue itself. Bone broth, in one form or another, has been made by human cultures on every inhabited continent. Chinese medical texts referenced bone soups for joint health over 2,500 years ago. European peasant cooking across the medieval period relied on bone stock as a base for nearly everything because it was cheap, and it stretched whatever scraps of actual meat were available. South American and Caribbean traditions built entire dishes around slow-cooked bone soups. The bones always mattered. Humans just never ate them raw and whole, because they couldn't. Now, some bones are actually eaten, and the exceptions tell you exactly where the rules break down. Fish bones. Small ones, at least. In canned sardines and canned salmon, the bones are pressure cooked until they're soft enough to chew and swallow without noticing. Those bones are a genuine source of dietary calcium, and nutritionists have pointed this out for decades. The reason it works is that fish bones are thinner, less mineralized, and structurally weaker than mammal bones. A sardine spine is not a cow femur. It's closer to a crunchier version of cartilage in terms of what your teeth actually have to do. Chicken bones get partially eaten in some food cultures too, though usually the softer ends near joints, and usually after extended pressure cooking or deep frying that breaks down the harder structure. In parts of West Africa and Southeast Asia, fried chicken cartilage and softened bone tips are eaten without a second thought. The line between bone and not bone in actual eating behavior is blurrier than most people assume. Cartilage, gristle, tendon, the knobby ends of bones, people eat those all the time. What they don't eat is the hard cortical shaft, the structural core, the load-bearing part. That's the part that never makes it to the plate. There's a real danger angle to this too. Even if you could chew through bone, swallowing sharp bone fragments is one of the most common causes of esophageal and intestinal perforation from food. Emergency rooms see it constantly. Fish bones lodged in throats, chicken bone splinters, puncturing the esophagus, or intestinal wall. A 2015 review in the World Journal of Gastroenterology found that bone fragments accounted for the largest single category of ingested foreign bodies, causing gastrointestinal complications in adults. The human digestive tract is a soft tube. Bone is not soft. Forcing one through the other has predictable consequences, and human bodies never evolved the thick esophageal lining or the acid concentration needed to handle that safely. Hyenas did. Crocodiles did. Bearded vultures did. Bearded vultures actually are one of the most extreme cases in nature. They eat almost nothing but bone. They fly up to altitude, drop bones onto rocks to shatter them, then swallow the fragments whole. Their stomach acid is strong enough to dissolve solid bone within 24 hours. Their entire diet is the part of the carcass that everything else leaves behind. Humans watched animals do this for hundreds of thousands of years and never once evolved the equipment to copy them. So what do modern humans actually do with bones? They turn them into things. Gelatin is extracted bone collagen. It's in gummy bears, marshmallows, jello, pharmaceutical capsules, photographic film. Bone meal, ground up bone dried and powdered, gets used as agricultural fertilizer and as a calcium supplement in animal feed. Bone char, made by heating bones in an oxygen-free environment, is still used in some sugar refining processes to filter and whiten cane sugar. If you've ever eaten a gummy bear or a marshmallow, you've eaten processed bone collagen. You've eaten bone, just not in any form your teeth would recognize. And then there's the nutritional side that people who make bone broth at home keep bringing up. A cup of simmered bone broth does contain calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, collagen that converts to gelatin, and amino acids like glycine and proline that are less abundant in muscle meat. Some of these compounds have been studied for potential benefits to joint health, gut lining integrity, and skin elasticity, though the clinical evidence is mixed and most studies are small. What's not debatable is that bone broth is a genuine nutritional product. It pulls real minerals and proteins out of a material that would otherwise be inedible waste. The problem is that the concentrations vary wildly depending on cooking time, temperature, acidity, and the type of bone used, so calling bone broth a reliable source of any specific nutrient is harder than most wellness blogs want to admit. There's also a cultural layer that doesn't get talked about much. In many industrialized countries, bones became invisible. Modern meat processing removes bones before most consumers ever see them. Boneless chicken breast, boneless pork chops, ground beef with no visible structure. The average grocery store shopper in the United States interacts with meat that has already been stripped away from the skeleton, so the bones themselves never even enter the conversation. They go to rendering plants. They get turned into industrial products. They disappear from the food system before the consumer makes a single decision about them. In other food cultures, bones never left the table. Vietnamese pho is built on bones simmered for hours. Korean seollyeongtang is a milky white ox bone soup that requires 12 or more hours of boiling. Japanese tonkotsu ramen gets its entire character from pork bones cooked until they've released every molecule of collagen and fat they contain. These food traditions treat bones as a primary ingredient, not a byproduct. They don't eat the bone itself, but they eat everything the bone has to give when you apply enough heat and enough time. So the answer sits in a few places at once. And none of them are complicated by themselves. Human teeth can't break bone. Human stomachs can't dissolve it. Bone splinters can puncture your insides. And none of that changed across millions of years of evolution because it never needed to. Humans found tools, found fire, found boiling, and extracted what they wanted without ever needing jaws like a hyena or a gut like a vulture. We don't eat bones for the same reason we don't eat trees. The useful parts are locked inside a structure that our bodies were never designed to dismantle. We just got very good, over a very long time, at finding other ways to get at them. The bone was never really on the menu. What was inside it always was.